The dark-haired young woman stared at the dressing room mirror backstage at the Plymouth Theater. Her breathing was nervous, shallow. She had worked hard on her lines. She had them cold. But there were so many of them, and not all of them made sense. She had learned English as a second language when still a child. Now, navigating through a jumble of complex phrases sometimes revealed a trace of German accent. That worried her, too. It didn't help that it was standing room only on opening night, September 7th, 1928. She knew why almost all the people in the audience had bought tickets to a play in 9 episodes called Machinal. It wasn't because they admired the work of expressionist female playwright and former war correspondent Sophie Treadwell. Even though it was her third lead role on Broadway, she understood that few, if any, had come to see her, 23-year-old Zita Johann. Born in Deutschbentschek in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. No, it was because of her role. Based on a real person, a secretary, a wife, a mother, then a killer, who, after a sensational arrest and trial, had met a grisly fate earlier that very year. Zita had seen the picture of Ruth Snyder in the death chair on the front page of the Daily News. What she could not know was how many people in the full house had seen it also, or how their underlying salacious interest might color the reaction to her character. What Zita Johann could not know, as she finally stood in the wings, was this play would have a decent run, would break the 60 performance mark. She breathed out. Curtain up. On stage, the 4 other characters already in the office set began a staccato chorus of ostensibly detached, ironically connected words and phrases. The first of what would be only 91 performances had begun. What Zita Johann could not know was that the only nascent star in this show was not her, but the man dressed as her character's lover. He was also standing backstage with a cigarette and flashed her a broad, encouraging smile. Clark Gable only appeared in episodes 5 and 6, and would soon leave Broadway for Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. What Zita could not know was that her engagement to Romanian-born John Houseman would lead to a short marriage, that Houseman would become partner of wunderkind Orson Welles, would move from Broadway to Hollywood, and almost 20 years later produce mystery writer Raymond Chandler's first original screenplay for Paramount Pictures' The Blue Dahlia. "In the pan," said a voice on stage. "Hot dog," said another. The next line was her cue. Zita Johann exhaled and strode out. It was drizzling rain. When I walked, I listened for my step. No sound seemed to follow. Corset salesman Henry Judd Gray in his memoir, Doomed Ship. "It sounds crazy, Keyes, but it's true, so help me. I couldn't hear my own footsteps. It was the walk of a dead man." Insurance agent Walter Neff, dictaphone memo to Barton Keyes. Where to begin the story of the true crime that underlies Machinal? "It was unfortunate," contemporary critic Perriton Maxwell wrote of the play, "that its theme and characters grew out of the notorious Snyder-Gray murder case. The play bears no likeness to the sordid facts of that cheap tragedy. Given that Treadwell's heroine, a young woman, a.k.a. Helen Jones, is executed for the murder of her abusive husband, Maxwell's comment is more than a trifle ingenuous. In his New York Times review the morning after the premiere, J. Brooks Atkinson had a better grasp of the playwright's process. To retrieve a frail and somber beauty of character, in superficial details the play resembles the Snyder and Gray murder case. But Sophie Treadwell has in no sense capitalized on a sensational trial in her strangely moving, shadowy tragedy of one who lacks strength. Of course, this assertion that Machinal in no sense capitalized on recent events is even more ingenuous.